You were so stoic. What's up?
No, I was just thinking about something.
I could tell there was smoke.
Exactly.
There was smoke coming out.
When I did Melissa's video, I was sitting there recording when I was editing, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't show her until you introduce her. But then whenever Vince is talking, I want to be able to show him.
Yeah, I don't. We could. Eric, the pillowcase. That's hysterical. Well, then.
Okay.
We'll just.
I'll just blur her out.
That's what I know.
Okay, so let me ask you a question before we get started. It's a serious question, honestly question. When you look at Jerry's T-shirt, do you read that beautiful, or do you read it beautiful?
I have to say I read it as beautiful because my son's beautiful.
Well, she thinks that even when he doesn't have a shirt on.
Of course.
Wow, I wish I had my mom here to help me with that. Welcome to the Outer Belt Podcast. I am your host, Patrick, and let me ask y'all, do you feel a breeze? Because I see it's chilling.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
And, of course, you all know our wonderful producer, Mr. Jerome Barrow.
What's up, everybody?
You know, they can't respond.
Yes, they can. Comments.
Comments. Oh, that's
down
right.
below.
Oh, I should have asked, how can they respond?
Yes.
You know, a few weeks ago, I said, I asked how everybody was doing, and Patrick's like, they can't respond. And I said, well, if they respond in the comments, I will answer them. And no one responded in the comments.
Well,
they told me how they were doing.
They're busy. That means they're busy.
Yeah, they're busy.
They are getting it done and doing it.
Yep.
That's right. We are recording
them,
with
Annie.
a dog. Annie is in the house. You know how she is. They've seen Annie, right?
They've seen Annie. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can we put a picture of Annie up on the podcast today? Or on the Facebook?
Sure can.
Awesome. What about Instagram? Can we do it on Instagram too?
She has her own Instagram.
She has her own Instagram page.
Yes, she does.
Can we link to it?
Yes, she has her own Instagram page.
I did not know that.
Well, at least I know I'm good as a dog.
Well, we've never interviewed Annie.
I think you're better. Annie doesn't have a lot to say.
No, not really.
No, she's there for the scratches.
She
loves the
She loves the
scratches.
scratches.
Well, as you can all tell, we have a special guest in the house tonight. I am so excited to introduce my good friend. I've met her several times. She used to drive with Hyfield Trucking. She used to be with FedEx Custom Critical. She laboriously handled one of our good friends' upbringing. Laboriously.
Yes.
And she is here in the house. I'd like to welcome everybody, Susie.
Hi, Patrick.
Now, if someone could tell me real quick, what makes Susie so special?
She's special to me because she's my mother.
That's right.
I'll always love my mama. So that's all I got.
I don't know that one.
She's my favorite girl.
She's Mama Boogie.
She is Mama Boogie.
Hence
the R&B
Well,
song.
welcome to the podcast. We are so grateful to have you here with us. When I found out we were going to have the opportunity to chat with you for a little bit, I lit up. I was on an airplane, texting back and forth, begging. I had to beg for you to be here. Your agents are fierce, but they do a great job.
They do.
And,
they're very protective.
They're very protective.
I mean, I think this is the first guest that had a writer that was 5 pages long.
I agree, but only purple M&Ms. It was a bit excessive.
It was a bit excessive.
But we are so grateful to have you here, and I can't wait to talk to you. You've been trucking for how long now?
14 years, but I'm retired now.
Retired, but drove for 14 years, and you did.
Let me back up a minute.
Let's
I'd like
back
to
up.
say I'm proud to be here, being Proud Month, also being with my son to see what he does. But I mostly want to say I enjoy being back at Hyfield Trucking, where it is family. You all are part of my heart, and I enjoy being here.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it too. It's a lot of people hear us talk about our Hyfield family and talk about the relationships we build, and it's not often people actually get to see it, and we're just thrilled to be here with you, and I'm so glad. That was very nice. Thank you. You completely threw me off what I was going to say, which is great. I love
think
it.
she kind of threw all of us off with that, so thank you very much for saying that.
Absolutely. So, Vince, you take over.
All right, I will. So 14 years driving. You're retired now. What did you start out in your driving career driving? What
I
type of
drove
truck?
an 18-wheeler, and I drove most of my time alone over the road. And before that, I drove a school bus. And I was married, and I asked my husband, how do you feel if I wanted to get my CDLs and go to trucking to make more money? And he said, if it makes you happy, go for it. So that's exactly what I did. And I have to say that over the years, when I first started, there wasn't hardly very many women out there. And I think a woman needs to take caution and be careful in some ways. But if you're looking to see the countryside and get paid for it and learn, I was just telling my friend outside, Eric, that I got to see how material was made. I got to go hiking in the Grand Canyon and different times, because you're not always working. You're actually enjoying your life out there also.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I love about trucking. And you mentioned real quick, and I know we're going to get to it in a little bit, but just a teaser, if you would. You went to the Grand Canyon.
I did.
How did you get there? In a commercial truck, or did you rent a car?
The first time I went, I was in the commercial truck, the 18-wheeler. I got on the CB, and I go, hey, there's the Grand Canyon. Anybody want to go hiking? And a guy come back and said he had time, so I dropped my trailer, and we bobtailed in there and went hiking for the day, and then I went on my way. But it blowed my mind. If nobody has seen the Grand Canyon, that's a must on your bucket list.
I completely agree. I've been there a couple times, and it's so overwhelmingly huge.
Really is, yeah.
That it's hard to process it. And hiking through there, and the red clay, and then the cacti and all it's green. It's funny because it's dry. It's a desert, but there's green everywhere against that red background. It really makes a majestic backdrop. So you literally just picked someone up and went over there. Were you not a little concerned, or did you kind of vet them, had a good idea when you saw him? You're like, this guy looks safe.
No, actually, I didn't know who I was talking to at the time, but I'm a very outspoken person, and I feel very comfortable in my own self. And it was broad open daylight, so I wasn't trying to take him home with me or anything like that. But kind of find out he was from my hometown too. And, so,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just really awesome. And then the second time, if I must say, was even better, because we were driving for FedEx and had an extra day. And my son and I were running team together. And I said, we got an extra day. Let's go hiking. And he goes, Mom, it says no commercial vehicle. And then I looked, and there's a Greyhound bus going in there. And I go, wait a minute. If that bus can go in there, we can go in there. So we actually followed the bus, went in, parked where the bus parked, and we hiked all day. And then we went on our way to L.A. But it was awesome to see my son's eyes and face when he got to see the Grand Canyon for the first time.
So that was your first time seeing the Grand Canyon?
It was.
It's amazing. It's one of those, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's all right.
It's one of those things where you see pictures of it, but you can't get the perspective of how large it is. Like the big thing I think that everyone sees is when they show you, or when you look at the map or the diagram, and they show you the tree and where the tree is at, and you can see the tree on the picture. It's a huge tree, and they say, "Oh, well, that's it down there." And you look for it, you find it, and it's like, "Wait, but it's a speck." Yeah. It's amazing, it really is. I'm sorry, Jerry.
No, you're fine. No, it was my first time. We went hiking all day long. It was great. We got in there. I mean, it was awesome, being with my mom and doing things and seeing that stuff. And later, whenever Don was on the road with me, I later took him
for his first time. Also,
for his first time.
Wow,
That's cool.
We got to interview Don one of these days.
It's his PR people. I mean, his
Yeah,
agent. They're brutal.
and probably a 10-page writer for Don.
I know.
So-
And you got to get Jimmy, his booker.
Right.
Jimmy's got a
Jimmy's
pipe
gotta
wrench and everything.
approve
So
the times. Yeah.
well, I was going to say real quick too. When you were talking about going, so you went to the Grand Canyon, y'all with when you were with FedEx, and you were obviously had some time, so you're able to do that. It's kind of in a weird place. So after y'all got done hiking all day, which sounds exhausting. Y'all must have stopped in Williams for the night, or did y'all stop in Flagstaff and spend the night?
No.
No, my poor son did his shift and drove us until it was my turn. But no, we just had enough time and we kept on our merry way. But it was still worth
I
it.
ended up doing the night shift and getting us down to Los Angeles.
Oh, it's still not too bad from
No.
Grand Canyon to LA. It's not too terrible, but yeah, so we didn't do the Grand Canyon when we went. We were too scared because we saw the no commercial truck signage, and we were like, well, we certainly can't go there. And there was no greyhounds around, so I was
to lead
like,
you in.
yeah, I was like, well,
you didn't have your escort vehicle.
no, I didn't have an escort vehicle. All I saw was like a nice Winnebago, and I'm like, well,
Right.
we're not quite the same.
Yeah.
So instead, Eric and I went and saw Meteor Crater.
Oh yeah.
So it's on the other side of Flagstaff.
Right.
Have y'all been to Meteor Crater?
No.
Only the rest area.
Okay, it's a giant hole in the ground. The difference is it's a literal perfectly round hole. It's just a bowl in the ground from where a crater hit, and it is just, or from where a meteorite hit, and it is just it's odd. It's just like imagine a perfect circle that is way bigger than we can build.
Well, even at the rest area, the rock formations there are pretty amazing for in the middle of nowhere to have these rock formations that look like lava rock. But, when you realize where they came from, this meteor hit and melted stuff and it froze back that way. It's pretty crazy.
It hit and melted dirt.
Yeah.
It melted dirt. I mean, the Grand Canyon, we all know, is because of Paul Bunyan.
Sure.
But
right.
the Grand and his ox...
Blue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the meteorite that I assume took out the dinosaurs,
Probably.
it's just a random rock that
It
fell
did.
from the
Just
sky
fell
and
from
hit the
the
ground
sky.
and
Exactly.
melted
It was
dirt
just that hot.
and threw it all over the place. That is incredible.
So Melissa and I have a Grand Canyon story.
Oh, go ahead.
Now we didn't go there.
Okay, well, that sounds good.
On our way to Medina to pick the truck up and meet you, we had
first time?
talked about the first time
Okay.
4 years ago now. Wow. We had talked about stopping at the Grand Canyon, and we didn't because we were concerned about time. Now we weren't. I had been driving commercially, but she hadn't. So we were just concerned about time. We didn't have any hotel rooms planned along the way. We were going to sleep in the car at a rest area when we got tired and just keep moving. So we didn't stop. And unfortunately, Melissa has not been to the Grand Canyon yet. So
What?
we have to make that happen.
Yeah, that definitely needs to happen. We, so Eric and I went out to Vegas one time and just in my Dodge pickup truck, and we stopped on the way out there, and it was awesome because it had just snowed.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got white snow all over the Grand Canyon, which really makes that red clay like
Oh, yeah. Just pop.
bright
Yeah.
red. And the green is bright green because it has water because of snow and all. So everything's like really just super vibrant. That was my first time ever seeing it, which is not a good thing to do. Don't if your first time ever going to the Grand Canyon, don't go in its most magical way, because the second time you go, it takes a little off.
Disappointment.
But it was incredible. And then, of course, like driving around, there's a forest area when you get back towards Williams or when you get back towards Flagstaff. And, of course, it's white pine trees with fluffy snow on it. And it was just, it's pure magic. It was just unbelievably
Truly
beautiful. The second time we went, which is what you and Buttermilk should do, is we brought the whole family out. There was like 5 or 6 of us in an RV. And we stopped at the Painted Desert, the forest, what's it called?
Petrified Forest?
That's the one, the
Okay.
Petrified Forest. And then went to Sedona,
Okay.
the Grand Canyon, and then Vegas.
Wow, that's a nice trip.
It was a great trip. A couple days at each, or day at each,
Sure.
wasn't a long trip. We did it pretty quick, but in an RV, you can kind of do that.
Right.
It'd been a nightmare in hotels. That's a nice, like, everything's kind of close in that general area of everything I just said. And you just see all kinds of terrain. It's just unbelievable how much you see. So if you're gonna do it, I would recommend that. I mean, you could leave Vegas off. You've been to Vegas. You understand what
Sure,
it's like.
I know what Vegas is like.
But
yeah.
I mean, Jerry wouldn't. But Jerry'd be like, "Yeah, I would. I'd go to Reno."
Yeah.
So
Before we leave the Grand Canyon,
Yes.
I have a question for our guest.
Sure.
So during our pre-interview yesterday, we called it our dinner last night, when you told the Grand Canyon story, you shared something that happened when you guys came back to your truck with the Asian folks from the tour bus. Can you share with us what they said to you?
Yeah, I'll be glad to share that. One thing that happened, like I said, after I got off the 18-wheeler, I ran with my son for over a year. And when we stopped at the Grand Canyon, we went in because we were following the bus. And my son was really nervous about me being in there. But as he'll tell you, his mother is very
Hard-headed.
vicious,
Persuasive.
persuasive,
There you
all
go.
of those. But anyway, when I parked where the bus is parked. And of course, there's a hanger between my back of my seat and the bed and where I hung my purse. Being a woman, I carried a pocketbook. And I got up, I parked, and I got up and turned and went into to get my purse so we can get out of the truck. And my son says, "Mama, they're taking pictures of your butt." And I turned around, and here's these Chinese ladies, and everybody's getting off the bus, and everybody's taking my picture. And I just was normal. I got out of the truck, and all of a sudden, the ladies are walking up to me and going, "You woman, you drive truck? You woman." And I go, "Yeah, I am." So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
So an ambassador for ladies all over the world.
I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then a few years later, women trucking gets started because of it. But I think about that a lot. Like when Eric and I got in the business, it was fairly common for women, husband and wives,
Sure.
to be on the road and drive. It's gotten quite a bit more prolific over the last 10 years. But before that, it was unheard of. Like I remember going to the truck stop and climbing the cab of a truck with my dad and his best friend, and his wife was on the truck with him, and he was like talking about how he didn't let his wife go into the store by herself or anything like that because it was just a man's world and men drove trucks and all this stuff. And so it is hard to remember, or for me, it's hard to remember sometimes, like this isn't how it's always been. There were pioneering women like you out there that were like saying, no, we can do this. And it's incredible. You paved a way for anybody to be in trucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'd like to say one of the things that really pop into my mind right now, you're talking about being the woman, which I am. And when I first started being on the 18-wheeler, you had to pull a tandem pin to slide your tandems to get your weight level. And lots of times, I help men because you're having to be inside,
Sure.
moving your vehicle to slide it forward or backward, and you need somebody to knock the pin in, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think in trucking, you help wherever you can, no matter male or female. And but one particular night, I stopped and I just got loaded,
You talking?
and I asked a gentleman, which he wasn't no gentleman, to help me slide my tandems. And he goes, "You're a woman out here taking a man's job. You can do it yourself." And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess I can." I walked over and I asked another guy to he help me. And he said, "Sure, no problem." And then that guy says, "I'll go help you." I go, "No, you don't. I don't want your cooties on my truck."
Oh, geez.
You know, because of just the way he acted the first time. But I think trucking is helping wherever you can, no matter who it is out there driving.
Absolutely. And it's weird over the past few years. Like I kind of feel like we've lost some of that. It has turned into a little more competitive situation out there, which is unfortunate, but it still happens a lot. There's still a lot of that fellowship, I'll say, out there, and brotherhood's not the right word, but there's a lot of that. We kind of work together,
Right.
and help each other out. But it is not. I don't feel as cohesive as it used to be. It is now a little bit more. I'll rat you out to better myself in a company, or no, you're taking work away from me, so you do it yourself. So it is a little bit different. I mean, that's one of the nice things. The whole Hyfield family, the working with Panther, working with FedEx, working with some of the other carriers we've worked with in the past, they do have this like family work together kind of attitudes. It's not completely, I'm one of 15,000 trucks and you don't know me. Like, it is nice having that smaller niched family group, especially if they're running team and there's a lot of husband and wives, and they seem to understand a little more of that dynamic out on the road. But yeah, it's fascinating hearing you talk. We did have that dinner a couple nights ago and got to really listen to a lot of your stories. They were so good.
So much fun.
So much fun. And I've never seen Jerry that red ever. And it was priceless. And I loved every minute of it. And I hope we can accomplish that tonight.
I think we should come clean and let our audience know that Jerry's not actually in the room right now. This is all AI.
This is correct.
We had to put him in later because he didn't want to be a part of this podcast.
That's right.
So.
You've heard of, was it Chat GBNP or something?
Right, Chat
GPT.
Yeah, this is Body GPT.
Exactly.
So it's a little
It's all a
different.
hologram. We had the Tupac hologram in there at first. It was like, maybe not.
Yeah, we thought about Michael Jackson, but we couldn't get the rights.
Right. The Man in the Mirror wasn't
available.
There, so.
Something about the Cirque du Soleil has them out in Vegas or something. I don't know.
Speaking of the women out in the industry,
Yes.
I think I enjoyed coming over to Hyfield, even though it was a small company at the time, and it's grown quite a bit now. I'm very thankful for that. I know my son's been with you for a lot longer than I had. But, it's still family, because even if you have a problem or something, there's so many mentors or people that you can reach out to. There's no reason to sit there and say, oh, I don't know, or no, I can't. There is just a lot of ways to communicate, and that's good for having an open door, that you got so many helpmates out there.
I really think so. I think
that's our marketing pitch right there. If
it
we
is.
can cut that part out, Jerry, and make a commercial with that.
Thank you.
That's perfect. There's so much help. There's so much support. Yeah. There's no reason to say, "Oh, I can't do it because I don't know how," because someone knows how, and if they don't, they'll get you an answer.
Absolutely, and we have people from all different walks of life, all different experiences, being your mentors.
Yeah.
And it was one thing I was thinking about, because we just had to do it the other day, where we had to take a team from one mentor and put them on another, and we've talked about that before on this channel.
Sure,
it was a similar situation where it was this other person was a better fit based on personalities and also what the team was going through. I don't remember if it was at home situation or if it was regional situation or what, but being able to pair them with someone else who better understood where they were coming from was huge. And that's not discrediting the other mentor. They just have a different experience, and that's what's so great, I think, about this is we are a very diverse fleet. And our mentors are very diverse. And so we try our best to not have any kind of conflicts up front, but people are people.
Sure.
And sometimes you have that. And the ability to fix that is and everybody kind of understands, like, yeah, that just happens from time to time.
Yeah, it does.
It's a really great situation. And because you're right, we have so much help out there. And it's really up to the person to use it or not use it. And thank you.
And also, when a couple is out there driving as a team, I would like to say, being on the woman's point of view, not all the time does your husband want to have a conversation, for the simple reason. My husband used to tell me, well, we don't have anything to talk about. Everything happened to you today happened to me. But yet there is times that it's really nice. I seen in my earlier years, I'd like to say that when I first started, there was no cell phones. There was a dispatch, and I have stood many a time in a pouring down rain to call in.
Yeah.
But now they got so many games that you can put on TV, and your trucks are so beautiful, and a bathroom right there, for crying out loud. No more peeing in the can like I did. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Tell it like it is,
fine,
please.
It's fine.
Please.
But, a man has it a whole lot better. They can go behind the tires. But, ladies, you want to go? Go. Nobody's watching you. I climbed on the behind the seat, on the silver catwalk, many a time.
Well, when in saying that, like I never drove with a woman. Eric and I were the only two people that ever drove together with each other, and we still had a porta potty in the truck,
Sure.
and we started with factory sleepers, just like you did. We didn't have what we have now. It's funny. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, "You don't know what it's like out here," yada yada yada, while they're in a bathroom truck
Right.
with all the accoutrement, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're right. I've never had it that nice." but it's still. Where was I going with that? But yeah, I still use a porta potty. I still tried to, it's the things you do out there to try to like
Make it better.
make it better, right? Even in a factory sleeper truck, which thankfully we don't have anymore.
So you mentioned earlier when you were talking about your how you started driving in your career, safety for women on the road. Can you touch on that a little bit more and
Surely.
what that looks like for women safety wise? What to look out for?
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please.
Can you compare that to how it was when you started versus the last time you drove? And has anything changed really?
I think it's changed for the better. Now, a lot of truckers understand that there is women out there working, and I honestly think that they would help out more than back in my day. Myself, I wouldn't get out of my truck after dark. I made sure I had, I ran by myself. I wasn't running team, but I made sure that I had a safety place that I wanted to stop at. If it was a rest area, my doors were locked, and I ran a bungee from one side of the door to the other side. Back then, I don't know if you remember it, but people were spraying the vents in the back of the truck there, and putting you to sleep and robbing. But if you put a bungee from one door through your steering wheel and into the other door, no door can be open.
Yeah.
And I just say that it's not bad out there. It's beautiful. I've seen some wonderful places, met a lot of nice people. It's a good living. I think my husband enjoyed me bringing home that big money. And it was nice. And I've got I'm retired now, and I have good money coming in from paying my taxes with Uncle Sam, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just been really nice, and I got to see a lot of countryside. I've been to every state except for Alaska and Hawaii. And my son keeps promising me one of these days I'm going to get there.
On the spot.
One of these days.
I tell you what, I did an Alaskan cruise with my mom, and the joy I saw on my mom's face as we were going through and see the fjords and seeing the
icebergs.
The icebergs, yes, but also the glaciers and
That's what I meant.
all
was
that.
glaciers, yeah.
Well, they have icebergs out
They
there.
do.
They're just not. They're not Titanic sinking
Right,
icebergs,
yeah.
but they are still icebergs. Seeing her face going and walking through the town and seeing her like, oh my gosh, there's salmon swimming upstream and all that stuff. It was really magical. Actually, one of my pictures that I put on Facebook, for those of you that follow me on Facebook, you see it occasionally around my mom's birthday or Mother's Day or such, is her, and she's behind me on a train. That was in Alaska going up and down one of the Alaskan railroads. And so it's a highlight, a great memory of mine. So, Jerry, get on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I need to because she really, really wants to do an Alaskan cruise.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say, since you mentioned your mother, I have to tell you this cute story. I really do. I have to share this one with y'all. But I was on the big truck by myself, and my mother raised 12 children, and yeah, I'm number 9. But anyway, she had never been out of the state of Florida. And although I wasn't supposed to, I was a bad girl. I snuck my mother out on the truck with me, and I hid her in the sleeper. Every time I went to the scale house, I'd say, Mom, jump in the bag, jump in the bag. And so I took my mother out with me for 3 weeks, and she had never seen snow before. She's always been in Florida.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I went to Maine, and one time we were up in Michigan, and I had to use her as a fence post because I had to back up my trailer up a hill, around a pond, into the dock.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I was petrified, but I said, Mom, you stand here, but don't let me hit you.
Don't move.
And but anyway, getting back to the snow, my mother had never seen snow before, and it was beautiful snow, about 4.5 foot deep. And we were up in Maine, and I found a rest area, which back then I called them a pickle park. But anyway, I pulled in and I go, "Come on, Mom, let's go play in the snow." And she had a hard time getting out of the truck, but she followed me in my steps, and I showed her how to build a snow angel for the first time.
Oh, cool.
So me and her are out there playing in the snow and everything, and all of a sudden we went to get up, and she couldn't get up because there was nothing to grab a hold of. So I'm pulling her up, and she's falling back, and I pulled her up, and she's falling back. Next thing I know, she says, "Leave me alone. I'm a pissing." And I want you to know, we both had to change our clothes. It was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
But, even though she's gone and I'm old now, but, remembering I gave some of myself to my mother that my other siblings couldn't do.
Yeah.
And then what was really funny is when we got home and I went to church, my mother would come up, and here I'm standing in a 2-piece suit, just left church, and we're going out to lunch. And she always wanted to make a habit, and she'd come up real loud for everybody to hear, and they go, "Now, what time did you say you have to go pick up your load?" And then everybody's going, "You're a trucker?"
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like she deliberately wanted them to know
She
that
was
I was
proud.
a trucker.
She was proud.
But
That's-
yeah.
I'm
But I have
curious.
good memories.
What's the statute of limitation on unauthorized passengers? Should we
Uh,
allow that to go
let's not
out
talk
of the
there.
air?
she's retired. No,
I'm just teasing.
she's
I'm
retired,
just
and we would never condone anybody
Never,
do that
never.
ever. That is a disqualifiable offense of both carriers. Anyways,
Yes.
but
That's a great story, though.
it is a
That's
great
an awesome
story.
story.
It is. It is. And if you want to do that with your mom, we can get passenger insurance at both
can.
carriers,
Yes,
and you
we
can actually
can.
do it as well.
Yep.
So, I have some great stories just like that with my mom. I mean, I think about being in Estes Park, which is where the hotel that Stephen King, is he the guy that writes horror?
He is.
Yes, he got the idea to write. Jack Nicholson was in this one. And he chops the door down. The Shining.
The Shining. Yeah.
Yes, he got the idea to write The Shining. So we were at the original. So they shot that one in Washington, I think. But this one was actually like where he stayed at and wrote the book and had the inspiration and everything. And it's eerie when you walk down the corridor in the hallways, and it's like, oh, this feels like you're in The Shining. But anyways, we were staying in that part in Estes Park at a campground. Got there, 80 degrees outside, beautiful. I mean, green trees, grass growing. It was beautiful. Went and hung out in the went to downtown Estes Park. There was moose walking around. You literally saw they shut the road down, and cops are walking by, and they're like, not showing the people, showing the moose. They're like, "Come on already, get through here." And it was an awesome experience. Go to sleep. That night I made us a spaghetti.
Nice.
Anyways, that's back when I cooked, and then we watched some TV, and then it's when Disjointed was out. If you remember Disjointed, it had Kathy Bates in it. It was a Netflix thing. She had a pot store. It was very funny on Netflix. Disjointed, watch it. And so we're watching that. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, and there's literally 10 inches of snow on the ground.
Wow.
Not forecasted
Yeah. Just
at
it
all.
is.
Just
There you go.
completely fluke storm in the middle of August, I want to say. And again, it was not supposed to be there at all. And so we're like, holy cow. So we go out there and you made snow angels. We did the next best thing. We had a snowball fight.
I had one of them too.
So there's, all 5 of us out there just throwing snowballs at each other. And what I thought was great about it was Jerry was actually able to I had a bunch of snippets of that. And Jerry took that right after my mom passed and put them all together to one seamless film.
Wow.
So I appreciate you doing that for me.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those great memories I have now as well. And again, complete fluke. Wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It was just an awesome experience. I got to get off the sad stories, or I'm going to start to go to a different place. So all that to say, For those of you who don't know, I've been out of the country for a hot minute.
Hot minute.
Hot minute.
Yes.
Except it was cold because we had to wear jackets most days.
I'm sorry that you were in a cold place for a hot minute.
Well, you know, we
see
do
the
what we got to
sympathy
do.
in my face?
I do see the sympathy. It's literally written
All
over your
yes.
face.
Yes.
So Eric and I did get the chance to go down to South America for a few days for my birthday, and
Happy birthday,
Happy
by the
birthday.
way.
thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
I appreciate it. I was wondering when you were going to say something.
I said something. I text you,
I know.
Facebook, and Messenger.
Well,
yeah,
but
that's
his big
excessive.
thing now is Twitter.
Twitter.
If you don't slide into his Twitter DMs, on his
DMs,
birthday,
yeah.
forget about it.
Yeah, I got to get
Forget
me
about it.
I got to get me a Twitter. That's a new.
No,
that's
you
like
don't.
one of those new upcoming ones, right?
Yeah, it is. It is relatively new. Just came out. Just starting to blow up a little bit. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you start now, you can probably get Patrick at Twitter or at Patrick on Twitter. I'm sure no one
Maybe.
has it yet.
Maybe.
It's that new.
Well, if that doesn't work out, I'll just get one of those Tumblr. That's another upcoming one, right?
There you go. Yeah.
You want to stay off Tumblr.
Yeah, we went down to South America, had a great time. I appreciate y'all handling business while I was gone. Kelly and Jimmy, Don and Jerry. Well, not so much Jerry, but Don and
I hear from Buttermilk all the time how Jerry is helping
I
her
know.
out with different things.
I do too.
Like she'll shoot me text messages with screenshots, and I'm trying my hardest to try and work her through something.
Yes.
And then she tells me later on, "Oh, I called Jerry."
Doesn't that burn you up?
And it doesn't, because if I were at home, I could help her. It's easier hands on to see things versus a screenshot. It's hard with the screenshot, and if you haven't done something in a while, it's hard to work through that in your head.
It is.
With you the other day.
By the way, yeah, we still have to do
when
that.
you called about something, we try and do it, but Jerry having that availability, I'm assuming he has availability. He's just not being nice to her. Being able to help her with that is great. When she went by and he helped her with a video she was doing for her presentation, it was awesome. What I have a problem with is that damn Breville. I'm done.
Breville.
That's it. I'm done. I'm going to stop right there.
So when I was down in South America, there was a couple times. Cell phone service isn't the greatest in South America. It's not bad. It's a world better than what it used to be. Remember, you used to go to Mexico and it was like,
oh yeah,
I don't have cell phone service for the next week. Sorry. And now you go down there and you have 5G and it's better than what you have in America. So when we went down we go down there and we were in Ecuador, and so cell phone service not the best, but still okay.
Sure.
And I remember there being a couple times where I got a message from Melissa, but by then the message was a couple hours old.
Yeah.
And then the very next one is, never mind, Jerry answered it. It's like, cool. So, no, I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the wonderful staff over at Hyfield for covering for Eric and I when we were gone. Don, Jerry, Jimmy, Kelly, Kayla, you, and Buttermilk. And Delina. Buttermilk and Delina are just smashing it over on the onboarding side, recruiting side. They are just, if you've talked to anyone recently, you've talked to either Buttermilk, Jerry, or Delina, and they are wide open, just doing stuff. And I don't want to say it, but I'm going to. And if this doesn't hold true, Jerry's going to edit it out. But we're about to be on a wait list.
Yeah.
Like, we have to have a conversation real soon about waitlisting. We already are. I'm being told we already are on a wait list. Like, that's unbelievable. We haven't been on a wait list since 2018.
The pressure and stress on me and Mel in the yard.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy, but a lot of times there's nothing we can do about it.
And that's where I was leading to, was you, Mel Lee, Donnie, having to handle getting trucks flipped and getting stuff prepped and working with shops, and then, you go to a shop and you tell them, this truck's dire emergency, I need it tomorrow.
Right.
And then you go with another truck a little later and you're like, actually,
really.
this one's kind like, you put this one in front of the other
Exactly.
one. This one's more dire.
Exactly.
Or less dire. There's none that are like regular.
No.
It's like Advil. You can't buy strength anymore. You either need extra strength or maximum strength. It's the same with the
thing.
trucks. We're either in a rush or we're in an extreme rush.
Yeah.
So that is it's really cool. And then we're buying a lot of trucks right now. We got trucks like crazy coming in, which doesn't help because y'all also have a hand in that too. And it's just a lot of movement going on. It was so funny. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today when we were out, I said, I left and things were pretty calm and like we were busy, but it was fine. I come back to a hurricane whirlwind, and it's not a bad hurricane. It's a really good one, but even a good storm is still a storm.
It's still a storm.
So it's been awesome to see y'all all rally and handle that. And while we're gone, Carla working on settlements, keeping all of our financials in order, taking all that stress off Eric. It's just been it's been really great, and I appreciate all of the staff for taking up while we were gone. It's great to have a group of people. And what really pointed this out was while we were out there talking to people and telling them what we do, and they're like, wait, so you two own a company, but y'all aren't there? And it's like, yeah, but we have really great people working, so we're not worried about it because I know it's under control and it's being handled. And we still have internet, so if things get really bad, we still get involved. Yeah. And there were a few times we got involved over the time we were gone, but not much. I mean, we are extremely lucky, extremely blessed to have that be the case, and I just want to share my appreciation with y'all.
Well, you're welcome. And just from my perspective, and I'm going to share just anecdotes that I hear from Buttermilk as well, since we live in the same house. There was never a situation where I felt like, oh my goodness, only Patrick or Eric can deal with this problem or this situation. I was comfortable, and it goes back to what our guest was saying earlier about the resources we have here at Hyfield. I was comfortable reaching out to anybody else with the question that I had that wasn't necessarily in my wheelhouse and working through that. We had to ask a team to push back an hour because a test wasn't done. I had no problem reaching Kelly and explaining to her what was going on and asking her to push the team back an hour, So that communication between all of us stays open, and everyone is willing to help out and help somewhere if they need to and jump in and take care of business.
Absolutely. And having that 1 hour pushback, I mean, that's such a minor thing.
It truly is. But when you're planning to be somewhere at a certain time and they ask you to push back an hour and you're excited, you're anxious, why are we pushing me back an hour? What's going on here?
How many times have you shown up? I know I have. Show up at the yard and, okay, we have a plan. We're going to meet this people at 10 a.m. and you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're there sitting next to the truck. So I've been over there where they've already had the hood open and they're already doing a pre-trip on it. And it's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but we changed your truck last minute and this isn't the one anymore. Like, there's been some weird things like that that's happened because it's been very nice knowing that we can go out and have a relatively stress-free time. And it hasn't always been that way. It really hasn't, and it is now, and it's a great situation to be in. I think I cut you off earlier. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm waiting my turn. But Patrick, on the way of talking about this and having people come to get into trucks and you're having to switch them around and stuff, while I have it in my mind, I would like to say as a new person coming on to trucking industry, no matter where you're going, Hyfield is great, but no matter what, always plan ahead of time. Make sure you have enough money saved up for some of your outstanding bills until you get your first paycheck. Make sure you pack some clothes of different types, summer, winter, fall. But you don't need your whole household. You need to plan for a week because you might not get to that laundromat. Yeah. But so my mother always said, pack extra underwear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's my key there. But, sometimes coming into the trucking industry, they're not realizing that they have to go through some testing and some learning skills, especially with FedEx and stuff. They're not just going to say, oh, I'm going to do this and I'll be driving tomorrow.
Yeah.
They need to plan ahead of time a little bit and make sure that you're comfortable and you got your license and a clean driver license. That's important. Don't wait until you forget, oh, they're not going to worry about that ticket I had 10 years ago. It still might show up on your record.
Yeah.
So there's some things like that, but there is a lot of people that can answer questions a whole lot better than I do. So you can always write comments, contact them, and ask any information you want for Hyfield Trucking.
Absolutely. One thing, too, I'm going to piggyback on that a second, is So Hyfield does. We're equipment providers, but we're not responsible for safety by the law, which means we don't approve or disqualify drivers. That is our contractors. That is the responsibility of the motor carrier. That's not how we set it up. That's how the FMCSA set it up. So in doing that, let me say, we have no control over who gets approved and who doesn't.
Right.
And one thing I can't help but encourage enough is honesty when you are signing on to a carrier. There is, and it's very rare, but it has happened, where a team gets into a truck, they've been dishonest. Maybe the carrier put him in the truck because an employee background check hadn't come back, or not a background check, an employee, what do they call this? Employee, there's a word for it. Employee...
Verification.
Yes, thank you. Employee verification comes back. And they're like, the employment verification comes back and it's like, yeah, they had 3 preventables and did $200,000 in damage.
Sure.
And then the carrier will disqualify you at that point. Or that does happen. It's extremely rare. It probably is, in the last 10 years, it's probably happened 3 times. So it's very rare. What's way more common is I've got a super speeder on my license or something like that, and so I'm not going to tell you, and hopefully no one notices. And boy, they catch it every single time.
Yeah.
That you can't hide that. The records, they're not just pulling it from one source. So people think sometimes they think like, oh well, I have a New York driver's license. This happened in Nevada. They're not going to see it. No. They see everything. Not only do they see it from the federal government. They see it if it's on a DOT. It comes in from not your record, but it comes in on a, not DAC report. What's the other one? Oh. So it's recorded. It can be recorded if it's a roadside on your PSP. If it's just a regular ticket, it's going to be on your background for your driving record. If it didn't get recorded either place there and your motor carrier got a copy of it, then the motor carrier is going to report it.
Right.
So it's like there are multiple DAC reports. There's multiple outlets where you're going to get caught. Like there's one thing motor carriers love doing, and that's telling other motor carriers what you did wrong.
Yep, they do.
And they will do that. They will do that not only to make the environment more safe, because the more they can tell other people about what's happening, the safer decisions companies can make.
Right.
So that is commendable.
Sure.
But they also have a, if you're driving for me and I'm happy, motor carrier, and you're trying to go somewhere else, well, if I feed that other company enough bad stuff, maybe you won't qualify, and you'll just stay with me.
Exactly.
So I mean, like, there's multiple reasons why that happens, but don't hide anything. It's going to get found out.
It's going to get found. So just a little background on what a PSP report is. It's a pre-employment screening program that the FMCSA handles that motor carriers, police departments, DOT officers all report to for when you have a violation, when you have a roadside inspection. They all report to that. So it's something that you can actually go and get a copy of your own PSP report.
Yes.
So you know what's on there. So if you're looking for a new job, maybe pay the $10 and get yourself a copy of your PSP report so you know what's on that report.
Absolutely.
And you're not looking at a new job going, wait a minute, they told me this was non-reportable, but they're reporting it.
Yes.
You say that it happens rarely when a carrier finds something after someone's seated in a truck.
No, that happens, and it's not uncommon. It's more of it's an offense that's strong enough to pull the team out of the truck.
Okay, so I actually, I ran reefer for a company, and then I moved to their flatbed side. This is when I was tractor trailer when I first started driving, and I went through orientation again because I switched divisions, and then had to go through a week of flatbed training. Mm-hmm. So I was in the class with a guy who, I'm sorry, I didn't do orientation again. I just did flatbed training after the week of orientation. He had gone through the week of orientation. All his reports were pulled. Everything was good. He was offered a position. So he'd gone through a week of orientation. He'd gone through a week of flatbed training. And then we had to go down to Fresno, California for a week of glass training where we actually learned how to load and set up our trailers and load glass.
Yeah.
And a couple of days into that, so we're now 2 weeks plus a few days into it, something was found on one of his reports, and he was given a plane ticket home.
Yeah.
And that he was lucky he had a plane ticket. Usually in that situation, if you don't get through one of those steps, they would always fly you in. If you didn't make it through one of those steps, you were given a bus ticket.
Yeah.
Amen.
So he got lucky that he got a plane ticket.
Yeah.
For something that was found later, way into
Yeah.
2 weeks in. So
Well, and I've heard people ask too, like, why does this happen? Why do people find out these things so late after the fact? I'm already in a truck. I'm already ready to go. And a lot of it's the pre-employment verification from your previous employers. So most, like, pulling criminal records, pulling driver records, pulling PSPs, all of that's a fairly quick process. It's not crazy.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I mean, there are states like Pennsylvania and I think Washington that still literally go and pull, like, they go to the card catalog,
right,
and they pull it out and they handwrite. Pennsylvania, for crying out loud, literally handwrites in the reports and send it in. So it takes a while.
Yeah.
But there are some states that do that. But in general, it's relatively quick. What's not quick is employment verifications. Your big companies, your Snyders, your Swifts, your FedExes, all those people, that they have people in their department. That's all they do all day. They pull your record up, they fill the form out, and they send it out. They get the next driver and they fill it out and they send it out. So there are big companies that do that. There are other companies that it gets mailed to them and it sits on their desk, and then it gets mailed again and it sits on their desk. And then they call and they can't get a hold of someone. Then they call again.
Right.
And that person says, "Oh yeah, I meant to get to it." And then it sits on their desk.
Yeah.
So what a lot of carriers will do is for the pre-employment verification, they will go ahead and approve you, get you started in everything. If everything comes back clean, and let you start working without that, knowing that it's inbound, right?
Sure.
And so that's where it catches a lot of people. That's where a lot of people get called. And we had that situation happen with a team when early on. We had like 3 or 4 trucks. They were in one of our trucks, back the factory sleeper truck, as a matter of fact. The engine blew up. Again, this is a decade ago when we were buying 700,000 mile trucks.
Right.
So the engine blew up. The other trucks are full. We had no other trucks we could put them in. I literally tried to buy a truck quickly, and at that time we were 3 trucks. You can't, or 4 trucks. You can't just buy another truck.
Sure.
It takes a while. It's a little bit easier now, but it wasn't easy then. And so I ended up talking to a fellow fleet owner and said, "Hey, would you mind taking this team?" And so they took them and put them into a truck, and I told them, like, we'll just let them ride out. Once my truck's fixed, if they want to come back, they can come back. But if they don't want to come back, that's fine too.
Sure.
I'll find someone else. Like, I understand there's no bad blood either way. So they go over there. They drove for that company. So they already been in my truck for a couple of weeks. They went and drove that company for a couple more weeks. And like a month and a half into it, they get the call. She lied about what was on her PSP or whatever, pre-employment. And she had totaled like 2 tractors. And with most carriers, there's a dollar amount. If you're over that dollar amount, it's
no thank you.
Either no thank you period, or no thank you for 10 years.
Right.
And so they pulled the team out of the truck. Like, that kind of stuff does happen. So should you be like, "Oh, I'm scared to apply"? No, put it all down there.
Yeah, put it all down.
Put it all down.
Yeah.
Be honest about it.
Certainly.
At least for 10 years worth of stuff.
At least let the carrier make the decision.
Exactly.
But don't lie to them, because that lie,
Yes.
even if it's not above their threshold, chances are that lie is going to disqualify you.
Yes.
So I worked in recruiting before coming to Hyfield, driving for Panther, where I was pulling those reports, the MVR, the PSP, the DAC, the other one that we mentioned that I can't think of now.
Yes.
I pulled all those reports, and also the employment verification. And we used 10th Street for most of it. So a lot of the stuff was simple. Pulling an MVR from California, if you didn't have that request in before a certain time, which was early in the afternoon, you didn't get that report until 2 days later.
Wow.
So if I let's just say it's 2:00, which I forget what the time is. If I had the report in, my request in before 2 p.m. Pacific, I would see that report the next day.
Yeah.
If it went in at 2:01 p.m., I would see it 2 days later.
Wow.
With other states' MVRs, most of them were immediate.
Yeah.
I mean, just pop up immediately.
Yeah.
PSP, CSA, DAC would pop up immediately. Criminal background checks. Some would come back right away.
Yeah.
Others would take forever. Sometimes when someone applied, they would, for some weird reason, and I never figured out what it was. I never asked anybody what it was. They would have reports pending from multiple counties in different states, even if they didn't have a driver's license from that state, and it would come back clean. But again, it took time. Sometimes it was the next day. Other times it was weeks. So what we would do in a situation where we were waiting for something to come back, if everything else came back clean, except for this one thing, except for criminal background checks.
Yeah.
But if everything else came back clean and we're waiting for an employment verification from some random company, we would go ahead and put them on. As long as that employment verification wasn't their only employer or wasn't a majority of their employment, we would go ahead and put them on pending that report coming in. And if that report came back bad, well, I'm sorry, we need our truck back. But that's kind of our process, and it does take time. That's why when people ask, how long does it take? Well, we can't give you a time because we don't know what states you have a CDL in or what states a background check is going to get pulled from or how many employers you have and how they deal with that process. So
Absolutely.
It's hard to give you a firm number on when that stuff's going to come back and how long that takes.
Absolutely. And it's tough, too, because you talk to other companies, and they seem to be able to get through it quicker, and what they're doing is they're just having looser terms, and they end up pulling more people out of their trucks because of it.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a balance of how conservative you are. If you're super conservative and no, we don't put you until everything's back, or hey, you pass a drug test, get in the truck.
Sure.
Like there's a balance between the two that you have to strike, and I think we have a happy one, but it does make it a little difficult to determine exactly how long you're going to be before you get into a truck. The other thing, one other situation we had too, and this is super rare. It's only happened once, but as far as that being honest, we had a team. One of the drivers had a suspended license in one county, one random county, and they knew it, and they never handled it. It did not come up at any of the reports. And just by pure happenstance, they got pulled over for a DOT inspection in that county.
Wow.
Found out they were driving on a suspended license and immediately were
done.
3 years before they could drive again.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense to do that. That is something that could so innocuous. It was like a $50 fee he could have paid and been fine with
done.
it.
But now he's lost his job for 3 years.
Yeah. So it's just be honest. And if they come back, like a lot of times too, we will get them back. They won't tell us because there's like privacy laws.
Sure.
What's wrong? But they will talk to the drivers and say, here's the rub. And then we've had a lot of teams come back and actually get it resolved.
Yeah.
They go out and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know this or that, or that's not the circumstance behind that preventable. They go back and talk to their previous employer, and they're able to get that resolved and knock it down to like an incident or something like that. So, be honest, and there's a lot of options out there for getting that stuff straightened out.
But I'd like to say it's just like anything else. Be honest. Be honest with your teammate that you're bringing out, wife, partner, whatever. Know them. When you file for getting your report, get theirs also.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's
Yeah.
no hitting.
Yeah.
No, how do you
surprises.
feel when you fall in love with someone, you find out 10 years later, oh, man, I didn't know that. But, it takes two to be a team.
Sure.
And honesty is the most thing you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the sad things I see with our company sometimes is we have teams that divorce out. And it's like, that communication, that tolerance, that honesty, it matters in trucking, especially, in our biggest, nicest truck. It's 12 foot by 8 foot. That's
in our biggest, nicest truck.
Our biggest, nicest truck.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a really small area.
Really small.
And you find out real quick if you work well together. So, yeah, definitely being able to work with someone or having an attitude of, compromise. And if I'm going to go drive with someone who's not someone I know or their friend. Communication and a little bit of tolerance of, okay, well, I may have to deal with something I don't normally like because I want to make this work or what have you.
Right.
And then in respect, like in talking through respect and talking through things, if you are a smoker, don't and you like smoking in the truck, don't go with someone who hates smoking, or if you're a smoker but you don't mind smoking outside the truck, like if you have a dog and you want to go team up with someone else, make sure they know you have a dog before you show up. Like all those little things, it's something you don't think about, but it does matter, and it does impact the success of being on the road.
It really does.
We've had a lot of people I've talked to where they're like, I don't want to team with anyone in because of all these bad experiences. And it's like, open line of communication actually solves a lot of that.
It does.
Cool. I have a question. Jerry,
Yes.
if you had to pick one story that your mom tells about you before we get off the air, what would that one story be? Not to put you on the spot, but I feel like I am. Because if you don't pick, she will, and I'm going to make sure it's one
I
that she
really thought
will.
he was going to say what story about your mother. So I'm glad it's on you and not on me.
Well, we have time for two.
We do. We do have time for two.
I would say the story she does like to tell a lot is the time that my stepfather picked me up from a football game, and I came down to the huddle house where she was working third shift as a night manager.
Can we
remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Well, I would love
I would love to hear
that.
story. Yeah, please.
Susie, would you be so kind?
Well, my son, ever since he was about probably 11, 12 or so, but he's always hated spiders, and he still does. So I was in between companies at the time, and I was trying to work at home, and I was a manager of a huddle house, and they went to the ball game, and my boyfriend at the time, we went and married then. But he took Jerry to the ball game, and Jerry was sitting there in his nice jacket, and ordered his sandwich and fries, and I'm working down the counter, and all of a sudden...
Let me jump in real quick and just say, this was on a Saturday night after a football game.
Packed.
Packed. This place was packed to the gill, people standing waiting for a seat.
Wow.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Well, he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden he's sitting there with his arms on the counter waiting, had his food. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of his eye, a huge wolf spider, a big black spider, he holds his breath, and the spider comes down his arms and got in front of him. And the next thing I know, he's screaming, Mom! And I had to kill the spider. But I think he jumped 6 seats over.
I did. I screamed at the top of my lungs, Mama, Mama, Mama. And she turned around and had to kill it. And I did. I jumped about six seats on down.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell him about the shower.
No, we're not going to discuss that one.
Really?
There's
We're
time.
not.
We do have time. There's
You do have
time
for the shower story.
I do the editing.
Yeah.
We did start.
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah?
Can you mute Jerry and we can hear the shower
Hold on one
story from
second.
Susan?
Okay, Jerry, talk.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, I'm wrong person. Real quick. See, I have a story just like it, but it was in a pop-up camper and it wasn't a spider. But we'll have to wait for me to have a family member on to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I do feel your pain. Now, my question is, A, did you have a job at the Huddle House afterwards? And B, did you clear the Huddle House out? Or is it like any good, normal Huddle House, we ain't leaving until the pancakes are done, or the waffles are done?
That's about it. It didn't clear the huddle house.
Yeah.
But I, of course, being a mother, I charged like a bull in an arena, I was going to see who was hurting my child.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Oh, I didn't
know.
think about it from that perspective. You hear a kid scream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah, hear a kid
always
scream
go
and you're
in
concerned.
charging.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's the reason I was going to tell you about the other one.
Nah.
He can edit it out.
We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so.
or you know what? Maybe after we finish recording, one of us holds Jerry down. I take the SD card and edit it myself.
Yes.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
exactly.
if you are listening and you want to hear the rest of the story, hit us up on our Patreon.
Right.
Jerry, will you set up a Patreon?
Exactly.
And so,
I want everyone to know, though, I do love my son. I pick on him sometimes, but I am so thankful as a mother. I've got 2 fine sons, and I thank the Lord every day for my sons. And Jerry is he's my heart. He's always been there for me when I had to have surgery. He was only probably 10 or 11 years old. It was just me and him. He took care of me, helped me bathe, whatever it took, cooked for me. He's always been there for me. And I tease him. I say, I brought you into the world because you're my computer go-to, But honestly and truly, I know that he's my heart. He's always there for me.
He's a good soul.
He is a good soul. I sometimes wonder if that's why Jerry calls me mom, because I pick on him so much.
Could be.
I don't know.
I think it's because y'all look so similar.
You know what? I was thinking that. I looked in the mirror earlier and I was like,
Susan?
Is this a mirror still?
Yeah.
Or did Susan come over?
Well, really, we had a frame between the two of you, but there's nothing in the middle of it,
gotcha.
so that's what it was.
Gotcha.
But
Okay. All right.
well, let me ask, as appropriate, does Jerry have any stories about you that you would like him to
Lord.
perhaps share with the audience?
His whole life is a story about me. I mean, he can tell anything.
All right. Well, you heard
Now's
it.
your
Tell
turn,
anything,
Jerry. Let's go.
Come on. We're going for shades of red.
I can remember one time we went to Caves Cove.
Oh.
And Caves Cove is,
Lord.
if you're up in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area,
Beautiful.
Okay.
you ride around this huge park, and then you can see animals, wildlife, deer, bear, stuff like that. And there's sections around the park where you can stop and see like these old houses that they used to live in, and a church and stuff like that. We were at one section where you kind of hike back off the main road, and there's nothing around restroom wise in this area. So we're like back up in the woods, and she's telling me, Jerry, I have to go. Jerry, I have to go. And I'm like, you're just gonna have to hold it because we are a long way. Like they only have one stop halfway around this place, and it's like 3 miles around the whole thing.
But it takes like 2 hours. 3
Exactly,
hours.
because there's a line of traffic. It's a one little.
I'm going to guess there was no snow, so she could make a snow
No.
angel.
So we are walking through these backwoods, and we're in this area where they had like an old barn and a house, and she's like, Jerry, I have to go. So I'll have to find it. I know I've got it. But she actually went to the corner of this barn and copped a squat, and I actually got a photo of my mother behind the barn.
Our Patreon is
notes,
patreon.com/
Oh, he didn't tell you the best part of that. Tell him what happened with
dear.
me. Guess what happened? Remember? You did it.
What did you do,
I don't
Jerry?
remember.
He slammed the barn door, and it scared me so bad I come running out with pee running down my leg. I thought there was something
great.
coming after me.
Jerome Barrow.
Yes.
How
Yes.
dare you? Oh, that's hysterical.
That's awesome.
I love
Oh,
it.
my goodness.
Well, you obviously seem like y'all like each other.
I
little
love
bit.
We
Little
have
bit,
we have to move on to a little business. Our
Little
corporate
business.
sponsors require us every week to talk about an airplane of the week. And being that I knew you being on would bring out the stories of Jerry's life, and we're going to be kind of going back in time, I thought I'd bring out this puppy. So this is a United Express Bombardier Q400. Are you okay, Vince?
I'm doing
Do you
just
need a
fine.
hug?
No, I'm good.
For those of you who can't see, Vince is crying.
I got my hug. Thank you.
So this is a Q400. This is a really cool airplane. It's a propeller airplane. It's got the wing up high, and it seats about 100 people or so on it. Very old school looking plane. Probably haven't flown one of these in a long time, have you?
I don't think I've ever flown one of those.
Me either.
Really? Really? So, Yeah, it's a turboprop plane. I know I had one not too long ago on from Silver Airways. It was a pink airplane.
Yeah.
And this one's white. That was an ATR. This is a Bombardier. They are fierce competitors. I love fierce competitors. So much
Bombardier,
fun.
Canada?
Bombardier Canada. That's the one. Right now it's made by de Havilland. It's called a Dash 8.
Okay.
So de Havilland, you may know that name from like Wright Brothers. They've been around forever.
It is a very familiar name,
It's a
yes.
very old airline. Our airplane maker. So, but they bought this from Bombardier, and it's a cool little airplane. I flew this back when I was running sound, back when I was a sound guy. We did a job out in Texas somewhere, and I had to fly on one of these back home from Houston, Texas to New Orleans.
Okay.
And it was my very first time. I was with a group of people, and we were doing the check-in. It was my first time checking in online for an airline. But
Wow.
prior to that,
Yeah.
it was just paper tickets. Well, it still was paper tickets, but it was before that. Anytime I'd flown was like you wouldn't check it. You'd go to the desk and they give
right.
yeah, exactly. Turn
Yeah.
your luggage in. They give
This
you a
when
ticket.
you go to the kiosk, or you
Yes.
and you check in online,
Yes.
but still go to the
You had
kiosk
to
to
go-
print
yes,
out your
you
boarding
had to go to
pass.
the kiosk.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And so when you went to the kiosk, they would pop up a little thing saying, "Hey, for $50, would you like to fly first class?" If they had open
Ooh.
seats or whatever.
Yeah.
So the first person goes, it's like $30. Second guy goes, it's like $40. The third person goes like $50. So they all get first class upgrades, and I'm
Right.
like, "Let's do it." And it was $80.
Ooh.
And I was
Supply-
like,
supply and demand.
it's supply
much?
and demand, yeah. So I was like, well, I can't not fly first.
Yeah.
Especially if everybody else I'm here with is flying first, because I was the last person
For
to
that
check
really
in
long flight you
for
had
that
ahead of
really
you.
long 48-minute flight.
Right.
So I paid the additional money, and I flew first class. It was my first time ever flying first class in an airplane, and it was an awesome experience.
and you never look back.
Well, I mean, I have, but
He,
you mean
he
behind-
looks back from the front.
From the front, yeah, exactly.
That only when
Oh.
only when they leave the curtain open.
What are the peasants doing back there?
Exactly. I've been in that situation. Flying to Italy and him looking back there at me.
Go on, Italy.
It was
Argentina.
Argentina, thank you.
How dare you?
Oh my goodness.
You weren't on Emirates. Anyways, that's coming to be continued. But so yeah, this was the first time I flew first class. It was a great experience for me, and the fact that it's a turboprop, they don't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I had that experience of flying on turboprops back in the day, which just don't exist anymore unless you're flying. I think Alaska maybe still has a couple.
Right. Maybe.
But they only fly to like really small, tiny areas like Medford.
Right. Of course, Medford's Medford's an international airport. I'll have you know.
Because they fly to Canada.
I forget why. I really don't know if they are or not. I don't know.
International, they fly to Washington.
They do. Yeah. I have two questions for you.
Okay.
The first one, because I wasn't paying attention when you said what the plane was.
Seriously?
I was
Bombardier
tearing up.
Q400.
Okay, so I've flown a turboprop that was an Embraer out of LAX to like Medford or to Oakland, California.
An
Just
Embraer?
a small. I think
Turboprop
so.
or jet?
It was a turboprop, small little plane. One seat on the one side, two seats on the other side.
Was it a Saab?
Was it a Saab?
Saab? S-A-A-B?
Like the car?
Like the car?
No, it was an Embraer.
Turboprop.
Yeah, flown by United Express.
Well, you've stumped me. How long ago?
Oh, darn. It's
1970.
been, no, it's been early 2000s.
I don't think they had any Embraer turboprops back then.
Well, that name sticks in my head. But anyway,
Well, Embraer makes a ton of regional jets.
Sure.
If you fly out of Columbus, there's a 50-50 chance you're on an Embraer. But
Okay.
a prop,
maybe I'm remembering it wrong because I am old and I forget
you are old.
easily. Yeah. I almost forgot my second question, but I remember it now.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this plane,
Yes.
and there's a rib, for lack of a better phrase, going down from the wings to the tail.
Yes.
I've never seen that before. Is that strictly a structural thing or aerodynamic thing?
It's aerodynamics.
Okay.
And it's because you have those great big engines that are blowing air above the wing and below the
I
wing.
see. Yeah.
And so it keeps the
prop wash.
the prop wash and the, what do they call it? There's another word for it. It's the same reason we have winglets on airplanes.
Gotcha.
Vortices or whatever
Okay.
from touching each other, and it makes that horizontal stabilizer a whole lot more effective.
I understand.
And the cool thing about it too is It's a T-tail. You don't see that very
You don't
often.
see T-tails very
You don't
often anymore,
unless it's a jet with the 2 jet engines on the very back.
Yeah.
Then you see it, but
Okay.
on an airplane with the wings or with the engine so far forward, you don't normally see it. So it's a cool little airplane. They're very, very, very reliable. Oh, you might remember this. Do you remember this a few years ago? Alaska had an airplane that was stolen. Some guy randomly
Yes.
grabbed it and flew around. And he ended up crashing in the
Yes.
ocean and died, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that same type of airplane.
It's funny you mentioned that on a podcast because Buttermilk and I listened to a podcast about that where
did
they
you?
actually played the air traffic radio between him and the controller.
Yeah.
It was wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was unique. Bombardier makes some really cool stuff. They make Jerry's favorite plane, the CRJ 200.
Hate that plane.
And they also make the CRJ 900, which is a much nicer airplane.
I like
But-
that plane.
Yeah. So that is my and what made one thing that made United so unique is with this particular airplane, they actually had a first class. A lot
Wow.
of turboprops don't.
That's small with the first class.
Yeah, if you're flying a turboprop, they're like, you ain't getting a first class. It's just all
Right.
economy. But United actually did stick a first class in there, which has made it really cool. But a lot of these airplanes ended up out in Africa and out in Asia. They're still flying. They don't fly them here in America anymore.
Sure.
So that is the plane of the week. We're gonna have pictures of it up on the
Show notes.
show notes.
Yeah.
Yes, and on YouTube and Instagram. What are our YouTube and Instagrams, Jerry?
So you can find us on Hyfield Trucking YouTube. You can also find us on our website. We have www.hyfieldtrucking.com. You can go on there and chat live with anyone if you're interested in joining Hyfield Trucking. That would be either me or Melissa, aka Buttermilk, or Delina. And you can also get more information about Hyfield if you're interested in joining us for the Out of Belt podcast. You can find us on Facebook or on the Instagrams, as my mother likes to call it, the Instagrams. You can also find us at lost my train of thought.
For everybody who didn't see, Vince's microphone just randomly fell over.
Yes, just
It was-
tilted over.
It was quite funny.
I live life on the edge, like with my microphone. I just right there, and then
Just
here it
right
is.
there, just
right there.
hanging on the edge of the cliff.
It might fall over, but hope not.
I hope not. Now, let me ask you, Jerry, if I wanted to listen to the Outer Belt podcast and I'm watching it on YouTube and I'm like, I really want to drive, but I can't drive and have YouTube, how can I possibly listen to what we have to say without watching it?
You can do that. We are on all of your favorite podcast streaming apps. Please download your favorite app, search for the Outer Belt podcast, and you will find us there. We are on all the popular ones. You can send us comments, emails at theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com. Leave a comment on YouTube. Shoot us a text over, not text.
A
Shoot
text. His phone number is 855.
Actually, shoot us a text at Hyfield Trucking. We'll be happy to talk to you.
Absolutely.
I'll put the number on the screen in the description down below.
Yes. And you all heard Susie talk about what it's like working with us. I know you always hear us talk about it.
Yeah.
But that firsthand experience that she has, I think, definitely helps. And she's, been 14 years in the industry, multiple companies, just a great source of foundation of knowledge. I just thank you so much for coming here and blessing us with that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you haven't asked me what I retired doing.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
Before
jumped
we
the
get
gun.
there, though,
Before we get there,
we YouTubers, we say a lot of things when we're doing our videos about what to expect, what to bring on the truck with you, what things are like. I think to have Susie come today and share with us her experience and her knowledge and some of the things she shared with us, don't bring everything, bring all-weather clothes. Those experiences go a long way towards hopefully people hearing it from a different perspective,
yes.
not from someone who's here talking about trucking all the time, but from someone who is retired from trucking into what she's going to tell us about here in a moment. She's lived it for 14 years, not all as expediters, tractor trailer life. There's a lot of experience here. So listen to what she says. She's got some great advice. So I want to thank you personally for sharing with us
Thank
your
y'all for having
stories.
me.
I mean,
Yes.
your stories about your life on the road, your story with your mom, your story with Jerry at the Grand Canyon, the Snow Angel story. Just, oh my goodness, thank you. I really appreciate that.
And always treat your dispatchers with kindness because they're just doing their job.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. If you're out there in Wonderland and you're hearing us talk about all the great things at Hyfield and you are like, hey, that might be something I'd be interested in doing, I know they're on a wait list, so I can't immediately jump on board and join over. But that works out fine because maybe you're in a job you like. Maybe you're trying to figure your way out. If you can, Fort Wayne, Indiana, July 21st to the 22nd is the Expedite Expo Crossroads of America Truck Show, and we are going to be there.
Yes, we are.
We are going to have a nice booth we're going to have set up. We're going to have, I'm so excited. We're getting all this set up now, and I'm just excited. We are going to have a YouTube studio in-house, so we're going to be doing a bunch of these with us, with Expedite Chicks, with Expediter Boogie. They don't know it yet. We should really tell them.
We should tell them.
Lookshire Expediting Adventures. We should also let them know.
We should let them know as
And
well, so
then
they're prepared.
We're going to have, did I say Expedite Chicks? We're going to have Nick and Carla.
The Real Trucker Couple.
The Real Trucker Couple.
Truck and Travel.
It's just going to be a star-studded lineup.
Yes, it is.
All doing this in our booth. We're going to have all of the Hyfield staff there. We're going to have most of the mentors, a couple that can't make it, but we're going to have most of the mentors there. And we're going to have a ton of Hyfield contractors, drivers out there walking around, hanging out. We are sponsoring Casino Night and the after party on Friday. So if you can join us on Friday, I know the event is Friday and Saturday, and some people aren't going to be able to make it till Saturday, and that's fine. But if you can make it Friday, we are sponsoring Casino Night. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of the highlights of the show. It's one of my favorite events we do. It's you walk in, we have all the game tables set up, your poker table, your craps table, your roulette, your blackjack, your 5-card
Hold'em,
whatever it is.
whatever.
I don't play it. And we're going to give you $1,000 of Monopoly money.
Oh.
And and come in. If you don't gamble, bet it all in red.
Exactly.
I don't mind. Although if you win and you don't gamble, you just gotta keep
betting on red.
Betting on red, yeah.
All,
But if we had a table limit, then it doesn't matter. We're also everybody's gonna get a wristband. We're gonna have door prizes throughout the entire night. You can come get all kinds of stuff. We give away all kinds of stuff. It's not just Hyfield. All the vendors at the event do give stuff out. So you're gonna have gift cards to all over the place. You're gonna have grills they give away. They give away iPads. They give away. I got a bullet blender once. Do you know what the bullet blender is? I think. Cutco's not going to make it, are they?
No,
they're not going to make it. No,
won't be there.
But it's.
I can call my guy and ask him, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. It doesn't really feel like they're kind of
not really their kind of thing.
Not really their kind of thing.
No.
But there's going to be all kinds of vendors there. Bring some cash. Go buy some the stuff to polish the wheels and all. I don't know what it's called. What is trucking?
Polish?
Anyways, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I encourage everybody to show up on Friday morning and on Saturday morning. They're going to have breakout seminars. So you can actually go through, and they have things on like what's it like to be a millennial in trucking?
Right.
What's it like to diversity in trucking with women? What else is there going to be?
I would like to say, in honor of June being Pride Month, we're going to have the first time ever LGBTQ plus group there.
That's right.
Representing.
They are going to be there as well.
There'll also be things about insurance for your truck if you're an owner-operator. How do you become an owner-operator? Financing equipment.
How do you maintain a vehicle?
So they're covering everything from soup to nuts as far as the expedite industry is concerned.
And I've heard a few people ask too, like, will there be other carriers? Well, it's just going to be Hyfield. Are we doing a job fair? No.
Well, Hyfield's not a carrier. I don't know if you knew that or not. Hyfield is not a carrier. We are a equipment provider.
Yes.
So there will be carriers there.
Yes.
Panther, of course. FedEx Custom Critical will be there.
Absolutely.
You'll probably have carriers such as Tri-Hours or
Bolt. Load
Bolt's
One.
not a carrier.
No, there's a Bolt carrier.
There is a Bolt carrier. You're right.
Yeah.
Load One.
Lane Star will be there.
Tri-State. Possibly. So there will be other carriers there besides Panther and FedEx Custom Critical.
And there will be other fleet owners there as well. Look, a well-informed decision. I completely understand we're not everybody's cup of tea. We try to be, but we're not. And so there will be other fleet owners there with the opportunity to talk to them. your channel famously says, do your research.
Do your research.
You
have
might
to.
not be
It's a-
the cup of tea, but you're the cream and sugar that goes with it.
Oh my goodness!
Thank
Knowledge,
you.
more knowledge.
Ooh, that's wisdom. Hey, no, that's a
Jeez.
wisdom.
That is wisdom.
Laying it down.
Jerry, you marking these on time so you can know when to pull these ads out.
Gotcha.
Okay, just
I
making
like
sure.
it.
got it.
So
Sure.
it's a great show. Parking does cost. The show's free, but parking does cost. If you want to go to expediterexpo.com and register, I encourage you to register ahead of time. It just makes everything a lot easier when you get
does.
there. Expediterexpo.com, and parking is $16 a day for a commercial truck, $8 a day for a car. But they do allow overnight parking. So if you go in the event on Friday and you pay your $16, they do not require you to repay for Saturday's parking as long as you didn't leave.
Right. Let's clarify something on that.
We should.
You're saying $16 per day.
Yes.
If you roll in on Friday morning at 8 a.m.
Go on.
and you leave at Friday at noon,
Yes.
and you come back at Friday at 3 p.m.,
You have to pay again.
they're going to charge you again.
That's right. No in and out.
No in and outs. So $16 per day. No, $16 every time you leave and come back.
Yes. Yes. And in all fairness, in Fort Wayne, there's not a lot of places you can take your truck.
There's not.
There are. I've seen several people. They take Ubers. They'll walk out to the street and then Uber somewhere,
Right.
or what have you, to save that parking
Yep.
fee. But there's going to be a lot of trucks parked
A lot
out
of
there.
trucks.
So feel free to jump in the mix and hang out for the weekend. Expediter Services on Friday night is going to have a big feast. You can go to their website, sign up for RSVP
Yeah.
for that. We are going to have casino night Friday night and Saturday night. We are going to have a parking lot party, weather permitting,
On Saturday.
on Saturday. So if the weather holds out, then we're going to hang out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
It's all for everybody to invite. We always have multiple fleet owners come out there and hang out with us too. It's just a good time to hang out, be social, have that fellowship, that group family we were talking about. It's a good time for
Right.
that. Even if you're not part of the Hyfield family, it's still a lot of fun to hang out there. We open it up to everybody. So that is at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum
There you go.
in Fort Wayne, Indiana, July 21st to the 22nd, 2023. That being said, I want to, again, for the 19th time, thank you, Susie, for joining
Yes,
us.
thank you so
It has been a
much.
genuine pleasure to have you here. You have raised a fine son, and he has been an integral part of our staff and really helps to bring the Hyfield family message out to the masses. I thank you for that. And also, you did say you're 14 years over the road, but you're now retired. I know what you do, and I think it's great. There's a couple things you've done for me, pieces you've done for me over the last few years, and I love them. You did one for my mom in particular that I really love, and so I would like to know if you could please let our audience, what do you do, and where can they find you?
Well, I am what you call a gourd head. Anybody that don't know what a gourd head is somebody who loves gourds. And as Minnie Pearl would always say, I'm proud to be here. I've been on television lots of times, and I just say I'm proud to be a gourd head. But, doing gourd art, it's SusieQGourds.com. And yes, I'm terrible on my website. Thank my son for setting it up for me. But I appreciate it. I appreciate being here. It brought back a lot of memories that, just thinking about the good times I had out there. And I encourage any woman that hears me, it's not just trucking, but it's a career. It's something that you could be proud of. It's something that you can hold your head up and make something out of yourself. You don't have to be a waitress for the rest of your life. I started working as a washing dishes at 14, working my way up to management in restaurants and gas stations, but I wanted something better. And I got my CDLs, and I decided to make something better with my life. And it worked for me. It worked for my family. I'm proud. Being a trucker does not have to sound like it's ugly. I know you hear it on the news. That truck, now all the time they're talking about a pickup. But trucking is also a way to hold your head up and be proud of who you are. Because just being a woman, you still can do it.
That's awesome. I completely agree with you.
I don't think there's much else to be said. Although I did check out SusieQGourds.com, and there's some amazing stuff here.
They are.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Thank you.
And if you don't know what a gourd is, go to our Facebook page. We're going to have pictures. Our show notes this week are going to be quite impressive.
I think it was one of your drivers, Janice, that I did a special
Yes,
order for
you
her.
did. That's right.
I give her a shout out. I haven't heard from her, but if she's watching, thank you, Janice. Lots of the truckers. I do special orders, and she had me to do all of her Christmas shopping with me, and I was
think
very
she ordered,
thankful.
She ordered like 10
15.
or 15 pieces.
15
Wow.
thunder drums,
Wow.
specially ordered, specially hand painted. And she said her family loved them. And that's what blesses my heart, is to know that doing art, it blesses me, but also blesses the one that's receiving it. So I'm very thankful.
You know, I'm just going to brag a little bit here. I know she's my mother, but she's done a lot. I mean, she's come from a very, very poor family, and she's come through a lot of heartache in her life. But she's always done it, you know? And now she is an accomplished artist.
Oh, I got one piece in the art
yeah.
museum.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
Awesome.
She has art galleries that carry her work. You know, she's really come a long way, and she's wonderful at what she does.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I don't care that I'm glad that they haven't. The art gallery has one of your pieces. I have 2 pieces. So. What Knoxville?
Well,
So
looking at the website here, I'm going to share with Melissa. We may end up with a piece too,
yes,
or 2,
or 3,
maybe. You never know.
or buy 3 and give me 1.
There you go.
There you go.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well,
It's
you already have your birthday present. Anyway, that's
thank you so much for joining us. Thank
Thank you for
Susan.
having me.
Yes, thank you for being here, Vince and Jerry. We did it, and I just want to say, everybody, stay safe, make good decisions.
And
Yeah.
keep your wheels on the road.
don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Thanks, Susie. Good night.